Thank you to Billy Kills for his constant support on Patreon. Hello all, coming back with another brand new deck. This time it is Laelia, the Blade Reforged, up against Omnath, Locus of Creation, Yuriko and Breya. Some very powerful commanders here. We have, 3 lands, and worst case scenario we're just going for the Wheel of Fortune, so we'll keep that. Last in the turn order, unfortunately, and Yuriko gets down a Triton Shore Stalker, so already getting down the unblockable stuff, ready to set up their commander. And then it's a Triumph from Omnath. We just play a land and pass here, after getting into the Thought Vessel. That is a turn 2 play for us. Maybe should have waited on the Bloodstained Mire, because the fetches are better with the Valakut Exploration. But there's every chance that we don't draw into another third land between here and then. Nothing from Breya, just holding up 2 mana, and the Triton Shore Stalker is swinging in towards Omnath, Locus of Creation. And of course cheating in Yuriko, the Tiger's Shadow, so just revealing an island from there. Won't be dealing any extra damage, but obviously a land to make for them next turn. 3 visits from Omnath for some more colour fixing. So like I said, last turn we will go for another land, and it is into the Thought Vessel, probably ready for our commander next turn. We drew into Haunted Cloak there, by the way, so that is Haste, Vigilance and Trample. And the first spell from Breya is a Thopter Engineer, so that comes in with a Thopter, and artifact creatures have Haste. Yuriko playing the island that we've just seen, so we'll knock that off, and Yuriko going in sideways against us, unfortunately. Hope they don't reveal anything too big here. Okay, well that could have been worse, revealing to us a Ninja of the Deep Hours. And then throwing in the Triton Shore Stalker again. Lotus Cobra from the Land's Matter player. And of course following that up with a Scalding Tarn fetch land. Cracking the fetch land for a shock and shocking that into play. And now they've made all 4 of their colours, so yep, going in for Omnath, Locus of Creation. They will draw 1 card here. Yeah, another red mana for us, can't say I mind that. We'll drop that straight away because I'm not going for the Valakut Exploration here. We'll get down our Laelia. And then that does have haste, so just for the sake of buffing it a little bit, I'm not too worried about any kind of swing back here, so we will swing in down the middle at Yuriko. I'm hoping our opponents aren't too worried about us with a Yuriko and Omnath player at the table. And then we see a 4th mana from Breya hitting all the colours, so down comes Breya, Ethereum Shaper. And those Thopters do have haste, of course. I'm really worried about Yuriko, apparently, swinging everything in at the Yuriko player. And they take the entire hit, going down to 28. Okay, and with 6 cards in hand, Yuriko goes for Reconnaissance missions, so going to be drawing even more cards. The Triton Shore Stalker goes in at Breya, and Yuriko coming in towards us. So Reconnaissance mission triggers twice. They will go up to 8 cards in hand and then get another one from Yuriko. And we see with Yuriko that it was another basic island that they got. Omnath starting the turn off with yet another fetch land. Luckily no Crucible or Ramunap in play yet, but does trigger the Lotus Cobra and the Omnath Locus of Creation. We'll get up to at least the 2nd trigger with that fetch, most likely. And our opponent does crack the fetch for a Triumph, so more triggers on the stack with Omnath, making that 4 mana. And there's a new one from Crimson Vow that we don't see anywhere near enough of, Dire Strain Rampage. Yeah, I think this one's flying under the radar, blowing up Breya with that, so they will get to search for a basic and put it into play tapped. But that's a really good modal spell with flashback. You can either use it as ramp yourself, or use it as some removal. And speak of the devil, that is Ramunap Excavator coming into play, with fetches available in the bin. Already made a land for the turn, thankfully, and in goes Omnath, and that is going in at Yuriko. The Lotus Cobra swinging in that way as well. Alright, but Yuriko with something in response here, that is Submerge. If an opponent controls a forest and you control an island, you can play it without paying its mana cost. Target creature goes on top of its owner's library. That is pointed at the Ramunap. So no fetch shenanigans, not this turn anyway. Does screw up our opponent's next turn, just deciding to take all the damage there though. We draw into yet another mountain. Had a whole chunk of mountains on top here apparently. So seeing as how we are not struggling getting into lands, might as well play the Valakut Exploration here. It's really good card advantage for us, and it does put plus counters on our commander. So play that and drop the snow-covered mountain. Alright, and underneath that is a commander's plate, and with nothing else to do this turn, we might as well throw that down. Unfortunate that we can't equip it straight away, but hopefully that won't be too much of a red rag to our opponents. I don't want to go in at Yuriko too much here because it might encourage them to wipe the board. Maybe I should help gang up on Yuriko, but I'm going to go in at Omnath and try and test them for some removal. 4 cards in hand and 4 mana held up. That triggers Laelia, of course, and we exile an Arid Mesa of our own. Already made a land for the turn. Breya coming into play once again. And it does bring in some Thopters, of course. All of those still have haste. Noteworthy that a Temple of the False God has come down for the 4-colour player as well. And once again, everything turning sideways, but this time it's all against the Omnath player, so yeah, no one seems to be particularly worried about us so far, which is really good. One of the benefits of everyone bringing powerful commanders. Yuriko not playing the basic that we know is in their hand, likely because that is some more fixing for them. And after that, going straight into combat, so the Triton Shorestalker goes into the left, and Yuriko goes into the left as well. Once again, are going to get 3 cards, one of which we will see. And the reveal card with Yuriko is not very much damage at all. That is a Fairy Seer. So during the second main, playing out a Nightveil Sprite, and following that up with the Fairy Seer that we've just seen. And not finished there apparently, that is Jace's Phantasm. We know what Omnath is drawing into this turn. I'm redrawing and replaying the Ramunap Excavator, then going straight in for the Arid Mesa out of the bin. So triggering the Lotus Cobra, Omnath will gain 4 life. And then cracking Arid Mesa, so we'll get the 4 mana and a 5th from the Lotus Cobra. And that is flashback with the Dire Strain Rampage straight onto Breya again. Yeah, I mean, they're not blowing up our stuff. I think I would have looked at the Commander's plate potentially there, but Breya can be a real pain as well if you allow them to untap with it. So like I said before, no one concentrating on us particularly, which is really helping us. The Rampage paying for half of the Commander tax there though, every time it's used, so might still be able to get Breya out. And then Omnath is through to combat, not wanting to bully the Breya player too much, swinging in with 4 Commander at Yuriko. And Yuriko just deciding to throw the Jace's Phantasm in the way as a chump blocker. Okay, so Omnath holding up 2 mana for us. We get into another fetch, which is good with our enchantment, so we'll throw that into play. Puts a plus counter on our Laelia. And this time exiling a Chandra's Ignition, which isn't the worst. Not sure I want to cast that with everyone looking in everyone else's direction at the minute. Let's crack the Wooded Foothills and see what else we can get from that. Okay, just a land this time. So, yeah, like I said, don't want to draw the ire of my opponents by wiping the board, so I'm just going to go for the equip with the Commander's plate, and that does successfully land. I was thinking we might see a Swords or something there. And we'll look at another card here, go straight through to combat, and see what we exile off the top with our Commander, swinging in at Yuriko, who cannot block us at the moment. Alright, and exiling a Pyroblast. So likely blow up the reconnaissance mission with that, I think. Noteworthy that we could take out Yuriko here with Unleash Fury by doubling up our Commander's power, but once Yuriko's been one shot out of the game by us, I think everyone will start to look at us, and I think they're worried about Yuriko at the moment, so I'm not going to take out Yuriko just so that they'll take the heat off us. Kind of controls our opponent's attack phases. So after combat, let's go for that Pyroblast onto the reconnaissance mission. I don't think we're doing anything else this turn. And then during the end step, our enchantment will trigger, and that just shocks our opponents because 2 cards are unused from that. Breya Ethereum Shaper coming into play yet again without any mana for the ability, thankfully. So more Thopters coming into play. Seems as though this might be a Thopter tribal deck. And this time just dedicating all the Thopter tokens over to the Omnath player, which, yeah, the Omnath player has removed their commander twice now, so you can understand that attack. Now we just need to hope that we're not punished for leaving the Yuriko player alive. Thankfully we're still at 31, so we're doing pretty well. Everyone focused on taking each other out here. And they are straight into the red zone. So Night Veil Sprite is Surveil 1 when it attacks. Attacks are Yuriko in at us, Triton Shore Stalker to the right, and then Night Veil Sprite and the other fairy going into the left. Oh, and that was one of the big hits with Yuriko. Let's have a look. That was Never to Return. So that is 4, 5, 6, 7 damage that was just dealt to all of us. And they have played the island that was revealed to us, so we can get rid of that. Following that up with a Devastation Tide, which, thankfully our commander has haste, but obviously need to do a little bit of setting up again here, thanks to the mass bounce. Like I said, hopefully not punished for leaving the Yuriko player alive when we could have taken him out. Ending the turn with Fairy Seer, which enters the battlefield and scries 2. I'm assuming this will add fuel to the fire of wanting to get rid of Yuriko. So down comes Omnath, Locus of Creation yet again. Following that up with a Command Tower to gain 4 life, and there is the Ramunap Excavator. No means of additional land drops, thankfully, so can't particularly abuse for Lands Matter shenanigans. Yet another snow-covered mountain for us. Haven't missed a land drop this game, which is relevant, especially after mass bounce. Haven't had a chance to play the Gauntlet of Power yet, but I think after a board wipe that is the perfect time to do it. And can really take advantage of the haste on our commander next turn. So we'll drop that down. No other snow-covered mountains in play, thankfully. Go for the Thought Vessel. And then with Thought Vessel we can go for the Commander's Plate as well. Might be a little bit risky to just leave that out there, but I think if they've got Artifact Removal it goes on the mana doubler anyway. So here we see the Thopter Engineer again. Haven't seen too many other cards from the Breya player. And yeah, once again seeing Breya, Ethereum Shaper. Okay, and there's a new one. That is Thopter Arrest, which is exile an artifact or creature until it leaves, so pretty much just the same as every other one of those enchantments. On theme with the Thopter shenanigans though, it does add credence to the fact that this is Thopter Tribal. And that was pointed at the Omnath, so Omnath getting exiled, and that did go back to the command zone. And straight into the red zone again, he's making use of haste himself. The Thopters go in at Yuriko, and Breya is going in at that Ramunap. And that encourages the Yuriko player to scoop, surprisingly. Yeah, they had 7 cards in hand. I mean, maybe they weren't going to survive anyway, they were just going to be too slow with all the haste that's going on and stuff, but yeah, unfortunate that they didn't have any cards they felt as though could get them out of this. So then it's down to a 3-player game and the beginning of Omnath's turn. So in comes Omnath for 6 mana, and then playing that Arid Mesa again from the bin. Able to gain a little bit of life with Omnath, but paying for the shock on that, so they've already lost 3 of the 4 life that they just gained. Obviously gained a bunch of mana here on the second trigger. So with that 4 mana, dropping themselves a Perforos God of the Forge, which will be bad news with Avenger of Zendikar, which I dare say is in the deck. And then there we see the Lotus Cobra again, so just seeing everyone set up after the Devastation Tide. And then we get a shock from the Ramunap, taking us down to 19. Okay, and surprisingly, we managed to get round the table with our double mana intact, so have a hell of a lot of mana this turn. Let's start off with the Valakut Exploration. And that way we can maximise these impulse draws. Go for our commander as well. And then 3 mana puts the commander's plate onto the Laelia. And I'm going to go through to combat here before I drop that Rogue's Passage, because we might get a better land that we want to play from the Valakut. I don't think it's going to particularly matter, but good habit to get into, I suppose. We do have protection from all of Omnath's colours, so we can just swing straight through for lethal here. Exile the top card, and that is a Commute with Lava, which would be really good if we had a bunch of untapped lands. Could dump a bunch of plus counters on our commander with that. Don't think we're going to need it though. We knock our opponent down to -2, so there goes Omnath, and now only one opponent to deal with. Go through to our second main. Haven't seen a land yet, so we'll go for this Rogue's Passage. Might need it against the colourless Thopter tokens. And underneath the enchantment is a Shadow Spear. I don't think we care about anything else. The Trample might be useful as well against the Thopters, so we'll play out the Shadow Spear for Trample and Lifelink. and equip that, of course. So our Blade Reforged is now a 9/9 with Pro White, Blue, Black and Green, Lifelink, Trample and Haste. And the only thing we can cast here is a Wayfarer's Bauble. Don't think there's much point in bluffing 2 mana to our opponent. Don't think there's any 2 mana red spells they're likely to worry about. They drop themselves straight into a Tezzeret, Artifice Master. Probably just draw some cards with that. And yeah, that is what they do. Go for the 0 ability, drawing 2 cards, taking them up to 7 in hand. And then playing and cracking and evolving wilds. Followed by more Thopter shenanigans in Loyal Apprentice. That is a really good one. And after that it is Panharmonicon. Loyal Apprentice triggers at the beginning of combat and gets our opponent another Thopter token. And our opponent, seeing that we've got Trample and Protection from colours, just decides to turn everything in sideways at us, so trying to outrace us at this point, we go down to 5. Yeah, actually, going down to 5, that does mean that if our opponent hadn't dropped the Panharmonicon, they could have just bolted us twice and that would have been us done there, so yeah, really our opponent's game there, but not to worry, they're obviously just playing a fun Thopter deck. We draw into Hammer of Nazan, so just in case our opponent has any kind of free spells, I don't see what they could get us with, to be honest, but I'll make our commander indestructible. And then we'll throw down the Haunted Cloak as well for Vigilance, Trample and Haste. And that is equipped for free thanks to the Hammer of Nazan. And then we're going to gain a bunch of life and deal lethal combat damage to our opponent here thanks to the Unleash Fury that we kept hold of. Exile off the top with our commander first, that is Spark of Creativity, so yeah, I don't think that's really going to be relevant. Our commander is now at 12 power, so we will go in for the Unleash Fury and target that on our commander, of course, so our Laelia is now a 24/10, which is lethal commander damage. That's weird, we've only dealt 12 commander damage. Yeah, 12 commander damage with Laelia, what's happened there? Yeah, it shows our commander is a 24/10 with all the keywords, so yeah, that's strange. We only went up to 17 as well, so it's only registered 12 damage for some reason. I'm not sure what happened there. Well, we might have just thrown the game away there. I don't know if it's Magic Online being goofy or if I made a mistake. We'll go for Spark of Creativity to try and get rid of haste on our opponent's stuff. They can recast their Breya anyway, so I don't think it matters. Get a land off the top, so we will play that. Obviously the land doesn't deal any damage to the creature. That exiles a card off the top with the Exploration, further buffing our commander, and just the Prismatic Vista underneath the enchantment, so can't play another land. Yeah, I think we might have just thrown the game away there, so let's just go for Wheel of Fortune just for the hell of it. Alright, drawing ourselves into some stuff here. Yeah, more impulse draw, and I think we're best just getting a creature down to chump with here. Thankfully I put Vigilance on our commander, that's why I did it, just in case. Glad I did now, because we've got a lot of lifelink we can throw in the way of our opponent's attacks. Activating the draw 2 cards with Tezzeret. And there we see a Pilgrim's Eye, so obviously another Thopter. They get to search for a basic land and put it into their hand. That happens twice thanks to it being an ETB and Panharmonicon. Following that up with Snare Thopter. And then we see that's an awesome one, Storm the Vault, and that will easily flip this turn, so it turns into Vault of Catlacan. Blue for each artifact you control. Loyal Apprentice making another Thopter. And then our opponent scoops, yeah, not thinking that they can get through with combat or anything. I think by the time combat is done and stuff, the Breya ability isn't going to be relevant. Yeah, I haven't actually worked it out, but I think they missed their chance to get rid of us there. I'm also not sure what happened during that combat phase. I don't know if I goofed up or if it was the client. Hard to know with Magic Online sometimes. Yeah, perhaps it was me. I'm sure I will have pointed out what happened in the edit if it was an error on my part. So a little bit clunky towards the end there, but I think this is a good means of showing off what Laelia is capable of. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Be sure to leave it a thumbs up if you did, and please consider donating on Patreon like some of you do already. Massive thank you to the patrons for bringing you this video. I'm tribalkai on the eedi-H channel. Thank you for watching.